One of the most challenging situation you faced in your project.
Currently, recent challenging situation is like the data was loading as per the normal, but after 1 week, we come to notice that there was some issues in the current data, and we have to check like at what in the past at exact what time this issue started. So we noticed that it is started from last 1 week. So we have to roll back all the changes and load all the files which were for that whole week, so to get the accurate data. So that was the challenge we faced.
How you propagate those changes from bronze to silver to the gold? Because in last 8 days it has been propagated to the gold layer, right? So where you
Yeah.
did these changes at all the layer, one layer? How you did that?
uh, we eventually we did it all on the all the layers, because first of all we removed it from the gold layer, then eventually silver and then bronze, and then again we loaded from bronze, silver, and then gold.
Now in that customer you got multiple duplicate records. Okay, how you will remove the duplicate into your Spark notebook or Databricks
uh,
notebook?
like doing like group by on the columns, so that is
Let's
one
say,
thing.
let's take some example. Let's say customer table is there, which is a customer ID,
uh,
name, address, phone number, email. Okay. Now, how you remove the duplicates here? Hello everyone, welcome to another mock interview. Today we have an Ankush with us. So he's gonna go for a Azure Data Engineering senior role interview. Also understand how we go. So for initial 15 to 20 minutes, we go for a technical interview. And in the second part of this entire session, we will have a feedback analysis on how Ankush has answered, what he has done correctly, what we could improve it, any answer which he has given is can be articulated in a much better way when we have to go for original interview. So do watch till the end, because you probably do not only wanted to see the questions, you mainly wanted to understand how to answer these questions, so that when you go for your interview you will not repeat these mistakes. So let's begin. Hi Ankush. So Ankush, let's start with your quick intro. So can you please tell me about yourself?
Hi Deepak. So myself Ankush, I have 7 years of total IT experience. So out of that, I'm last for 4 years I'm working as a data engineer. So uh, in my current company, my current client is of insurance domain. So I am like working mostly on insurance project, and it is Azure tech stack it is using. Earlier that I was working as a SQL admin. So like earlier I worked in Infosys and TCS, and this is my third company. And currently we are using Azure SQL, so like SQL Server, then ADF, Azure Databricks, Azure Storage Gen 2, and then like all other services like Keystore, IntraID, then Power BI. These tools we use for our current project.
Okay, great. Can you just tell me in just one line about your project?
So we have like a medallion architecture where we use like silver, bronze, silver, and gold layer architecture to manage and transform the data. So first of all, like we get the data from various sources like CSV, JSON, or HTTP, so SFTP servers. So we get we here we have SQL Server and CSV files. So like branch data and customer data, policy related data, we load it with ADF through pipeline. So for the managing the with the copy activity. So for like mm, with the with ADF we use key vault to store the secrets and all the credential related to database and source related data. And then once the data is loaded into Databricks Lakehouse in bronze layer, then we transform it in with the help of notebooks in the silver layer, and then corresponding to according to the need of customer and KPIs based, we can transform it into the gold layer and then provide it to the respective teams.
Okay.
So
So
yeah.
what was your role there? What
So mostly
specifically you worked on there?
So mostly I'm working on creating pipeline, like importing data from the source servers to a bronze layer and then transforming it to the like working on the notebooks in Databricks to transform the data, to filter the data and make like clean it for better reading and further processing.
Okay, what is the team size?
Currently we have 8 members.
Okay, so can you please tell me one of the most challenging situation you faced in your project?
Currently, recent challenging situation is like the data was loading as per the normal, but after 1 week, we come to notice that there was some issues in the current data, and we have to check like at what in the past at exact what time this issue started. So we noticed that it is started from last 1 week. So we have to roll back all the changes and load all the files which were for that whole week, so to get the accurate data. So that was the challenge we faced
So
recently.
what is the challenge in that?
So loading the first of all finding the exact timeline where it actually started giving the error or like data was misplaced. That was the first challenge. Then after loading that whole data again in very less time, that was again challenge. So we have to modify some parameters like
So how you
improving the.
identify? So let's go step by step. How you identify that
Okay.
um, we got an error from this point and I have to do the reloading from this point. So how you identify that?
For that, there were some like values missing which were expected by the customers. So so they found some discrepancies and they reported us back. So
So how you identify? That's a customer identify and told you. How
yeah,
you identified?
the that was from different team. So uh, like we worked on mostly loading the data.
Okay, understood. Let's say you identified someone reported to you that this is the error and that is the problem happening since last 1 week. What was your next
Yeah.
step?
So we get the correct data from the source servers and then load all the files again to the bronze layer.
Will that solve the problem?
Uh, yeah, actually, upon doing that, their reports were coming properly in their dashboards.
So don't you think that we have to delete the existing bad records?
Yeah, we already cleaned the bad records. Then only we inserted the new records.
How you propagate those changes from bronze to silver to the gold? Because in last 8 days it has been propagated to the gold layer, right? So where you
Yeah.
did these changes at all the layer, one layer, how you did that?
Uh, we eventually we did it all on the all the layers because first of all we removed it from the gold layer, then eventually silver and then bronze, and then again we loaded from bronze, silver, and then gold.
So you do from first remove from gold, then silver, then bronze.
Yes.
Why not bronze, silver, and gold? Because you
Uh,
inserted in that direction, right? Bronze, silver, and gold.
yeah. But mm yeah, that way also possible. Uh, but we thought like going from like production to like normal dev environments, like our lower environments.
How environment come into picture in this case?
Sorry, like I considered silver as a lower because we are not portraying it to the customers. Yeah.
Okay, no worries. Now, as you have talked about the environments, right? So tell me, um, how many environment you have in your project?
So we have basically dev, QA, and then production. So
Okay,
three environments. Yeah.
and how you do the code deployment from dev to
Uh,
QA to prod?
With Azure DevOps, we pull once the testing is done in Dev, then we pull create a pull request and pull that pipeline into QA and then production.
And that is done for the ADF pipeline. What about for
Yeah,
Databricks?
for Databricks, I'm not sure actually.
Okay, no worries. Then let's say uh, you did all this. Okay, now your data was coming into the ADL, as you said, you have ADF, and then your pipeline get runs to move the data continuously, and then you run your bronze, silver, gold layer medallion architecture into your Databricks. So what do you do in Databricks? What you create? Tables, files. How you create all those bronze, silver, gold layers? And
Uh,
what do you mean by
we
that?
we create a delta table basically
Okay.
from the files received in the
Okay.
bronze layer. We create a delta tables and uh, from the silver layer we create only delta tables only. We not storing it as a file, uh, storing it as a delta table only.
Okay. And in the silver, gold, and bronze, all the layers.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, then what happens to your data after this get into the gold layer? Who is using it?
So mostly reporting team and like end customer is like our like BI team
And how they use it?
through Power BI.
Okay. Okay. Mm. Now let's say you got your data in terms of SQL Server. You pull it into ADLS in form of Parquet. Okay. Now in that Parquet, you got let's say customer data you pull in. Okay. Now in that customer, you got multiple duplicate records. Okay. How you will remove the duplicate into your Spark notebook or Databricks notebook.
Uh, like doing like group by on the columns. So that is
Let's
one
say,
thing.
let's take some example. Let's say customer table is there, which is a customer ID,
Uh,
name, address, phone number, email. Okay. Now, how you remove the duplicates here?
so deduplication can be done with creating group by where like if like introducing window function also. If like rank is greater than 2, then we can remove that record.
Tell me the query if you have. Or in terms of the
So
Spark, I'm more interested not in SQL. I mean, I'm more
okay.
interested in the Spark. How you will do it in the Spark?
Uh, Spark. So there is a command to drop a duplicate record. Uh, I'm not remembering that actually,
Okay,
but
no
SQL
worries.
I know that. Yeah.
No worries. Uh, okay, let's say you got nulls there. Okay,
Yeah.
so there are a few of the nulls records you're getting it. Let's say you get the null record. Uh, let's say phone number is coming null. Okay, and let's say address is coming null. Okay, now I want for all the records where the phone number is null, that should be replaced by not available, and wherever the address is null, that will be just replaced by a one country name itself. Let's say India. How would you do that?
So we have like df dot uh, fill na command where we can pass the parameters, column name, and then what record like what lit we want to pass, that we can give in the address and that phone number column.
So you have to run two different fill na function, or like one function can be done for, used
Yeah,
for both of them.
in one line we can write, but we have to use two times actually
Okay,
fill
fill
na
na you will be used two times.
for two
Okay.
columns. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, this is fine. Let's talk about a one scenario. Okay. Now, scenario is something like that. Let's say you work as a data engineer. Okay. And there are million records to get copied. Okay. Those records are available in the on-premises server. Okay. In the SQL server, let's say. And you're moving those into the data factory. Using data factory, you move it into the ADLS, then you move it to the medallion architecture. Now, everything was working fine. But on one day, when you were running for this 1 million record, unfortunately, database went down. Okay. Database went down for 2 seconds. So database went down for 2 seconds. What will happen? If let's say pipeline is running and database went down for 2 seconds, what will happen?
So, like if we don't have parameter like for in pipeline to retry, then it will not rerun. It will fail because the connection will break down. So that we should enable the error log on pipelines to come to know that what exactly happened to our pipeline. So we should so so pipeline will break eventually if we don't have these things like retry and all.
Okay. So imagine the retry was not there, pipeline got failed. How you will
Yeah,
recover from that pipeline? Because when this error came, by the time some of the record get copied, right? Now, if you
yeah.
rerun this pipeline, what will happen?
If we rerun, then all the records again get copied.
Okay,
Uh, like whichever the earlier copied will be there, so it will get copied again. So we have to first clear the whatever earlier run, then only we can rerun that pipeline.
makes sense. Let's say you do not want to have this headache, okay, of cleaning this. Is there any setting that can be done in ADF which ensures that either all copy or either none copy?
Yeah, it is there. That idempotency setting, I don't know.
What do you mean by
Not
idempotency?
remain. And that like how many times like run the command, it will not reflect the destination. Like
That is a idempotent. Okay,
yeah,
so it's a read request, kind of,
yeah,
right? Idempotency is like a read request because how many times you read, your data will remain same.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Awesome. So, thank you, Ankush. Uh, let's go for the second half of this. That is like we're gonna do the feedback analysis of this. Okay. So far, you done good, Ankush. There are certain things which can be definitely be improved. If you ask me, overall, you know quite a couple of things. Few things which you need to work on. Your communication is average. Okay, it can be further improved. I mean, you know couple of things, you have to be sound little more confident. Okay, another
Okay,
feedback is if you just see your tone, it's like straight line, it does not have a modulation. So to make your communication more effective, you need to have the modulation. Add some more pauses in between. Sometimes you go a little louder, little slower, so modulate your voice, so that will come as more effective, as in like
okay,
when you are speaking or when you are communicating. So that would be from the soft skill side, that I think. See, English is not a problem, the vocab, English and all, that's not a problem. But that modulation should be there, okay, to make it more effective. Okay.
okay,
Now, let's go by the questions one by one. Okay. If you have noticed that everyone who is watching this conversation also noticed that the interview is not a scripted. The way Ankush is answering, I'm asking the question out of that only. So it's not a pre-written questions and then going through that. And this is how exactly all the interviews will happen. if you are watching this, understand one thing very clearly. If you are going for a senior level of interviews, it's not going to be by a bookish that what is XYZ. Generally, first question would be a bookish question. After that, every question is depend upon how you are answering. For example, when I asked to the Ankush, okay, so the first thing when I ask Ankush, Ankush explain. Ankush, when I said, tell me about yourself, the one thing which you need to do is like you started talking about entire project. Okay. When I ask me, tell me about yourself. So if tell me about yourself, you have to tell about yourself, not your work.
Yeah.
Even if you have to say it, it will be short. Okay. So it will stretch too much. That could have been avoided. Second, when I ask you the next question, like, tell me about your project in one line, I specifically said that. Okay. Because when I ask you first question, you already stretched it too long, right? So to cut that out, I said it like, tell me about your project in one line.
Uh,
But then again, you painted the whole story. Okay. So please, little bit you need to avoid it, because sometimes कुछ खड़ूस इंटरव्यूअर भी होते हैं, राइट? जो इतना
yeah.
सुनना पसंद नहीं करते. So you have to understand the psychology of the interviewer, that what he is not interested in listening too much. Okay. So you should avoid doing that. I mean, hear the question very well. Okay. So then we talked about the number of projects you have, sorry, number of team members you have, and then you said it, okay, that is not a problematic. Now, interesting question, that when I asked you, tell me about the challenging situation, then you said it right. Ki, we had a problem, and you figure out that was a problem, and then it is solved. If you're talking about a challenging situation, you should be completely aware about it end to end. Okay, so it should be clear cut end to end information. You should have it. It should not be like that half of the information. If you have half of the information, please do not talk about that. Because when I ask you, like, tell me how you figure out the problem, then you try to, pass the buck to someone else and think that other team is there. They told you this was the problem, and like that. Then you get a little bit confused when I say it like it will be bronze to gold, gold to bronze. Okay. So then again, you got a little bit confused there. Again, it's totally fine, because I know that you were not prepared for this question and you were not seeing that this question is coming. Right.
Yeah.
So this happens, but try to avoid that. Then we talked about Databricks. You were fine. You talked about it like it is stable and all. So that bronze silver, you were clear on that. Then retry logic. I like your retry logic as well. That when we talked about a scenario based question, that what will happen if this gets stopped for a 2 second, then you are very clear that if you have a retry policy, then it will retry and then probably it will work. So that was a perfectly right answer. Then I ask you one another question, like the way you have answered it, like what will happen if we wanted to have in such a way that there is no in between, the records will get saved and either all or either none. So in that case, there is you idempotency. You said it right. So there is nothing as such like that. But I understand, and you also know that, right? You were just
Yeah.
googling, so that's totally fine. But yeah,
I
I mean,
forgot actually. Yeah.
yeah. So there is one setting that you can set the batch size. So batch size, like you can keep it a very large number, right? So then it will ensure that all of them will be come together. That's how you can set it. So you can increase a very large batch size. Although this is not recommended, not a right solution, but like I on its own created a some kind of scenario. So you have to. I mean, this could have been done. Although whether we should not do any time like that, because this will slow down the performance and all. So that's was the thing. So I think, yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Overall, I think you learned couple of things from this interview, and I I think as far as the knowledge is concerned, you have quite good knowledge. I mean, small thing here and there you can always fine tune and do it. And maybe every interviewer will not scrutiny the way I did it, because I was trying to go deep down
Yeah.
what you are saying, rather than coming with a pre uh, you know pre-built script of, let's I ask a Unity catalog, I will ask a Delta Live table, I will ask this and that. Also, one question you didn't went I mean did not answer right was DevOps for the Databricks side. So you have to go back and see that, check that, because that question generally asks that how you will do
Okay.
the the deployment for the Databricks. For ADF, you were fine that we're gonna use Azure DevOps and doing the CI/CD. That was fine, but in case of Databricks, you were not aware of it. Okay, so please go back and prepare that as well. So
Sure.
that's it. Thank you so much, Ankush, for coming in.
Thank you.
For this interview. And everyone, if you're watching till this point, do subscribe, and I'll come in another mock interview session. See you, everyone. Bye.